Hello, uh, this is Hebrew Hammer, Heroes and Hammer, whatever you want to call me. Um, I am one of the players on the Super GNT4 server. I play a lot of Ino and Hokage, and I've seen some recent requests or people asking. There's a lot of people playing now, a lot of newcomers, and a lot of people. I've seen some requests from Eno, and some people point out my YouTube channel, which has some VODs on there that I used to stream some games, and they're just not very useful because, well, they're like some videos are like 2 hours long or an hour long, and it's not really helpful for a newcomer to understand the character. So I thought about just kind of jumping into training mode and kind of freeform going over this character and my interpretation of her, I guess, and kind of explain her basics, her mechanics, strategies, combos, things of that nature. So I haven't really had a plan for this. I just kind of want to jump in and start this right now. And we'll see where it goes. And maybe I'll make a better version in the future, but I just kind of wanted to make a targeted guide, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to jump into training mode and start with her strings and go from there. But actually first, let's go into debug real fast. So I can show you two, I guess, pretty quick things about her. So Ino does not have the fastest jab in the game. That would be Guy and Lee at 11 frames. But her jab isn't terrible. Also wanted to go over this. As you can see here, she has 205 HP. Not terrible, excuse me, not the lowest either. So pretty good, they buffed it. So 205 is quite good. Anything over 200 is pretty strong. And then her guard meter 1640. You would have to compare that with other characters if you want to get that better perspective on that. But so if we go to attack 2 here, this is pretty useful in terms of understanding what your frame data is. There are some inconsistencies, but you can kind of just use this as really quick reference. Not everyone uses frame data for their gameplay. That's totally fine, but I think it's helpful to know at least the basics. So like her jab here, which is B, right? As you can see here, it says 14 frames. So that's 14 frames until it's active, then it's active for 2 frames. So it's really a 15 frame jab if you want to think of it that way. Active on the 15th frame for 2 frames, so 15 and 16. Whereas Guy and Lee have 11 frame jabs, so and her second jab is 18 frames, right? She has probably, I think, arguably the fastest attacking move, offensive move, which is 6A, this. So 7 frames or 8 frames, right? Kakashi, I think, has a, in his Sharingan mode, his counter is the fastest move in the game, outside of throws, which are on frame 1, they're active. So, very fast move there, and average jab. Just it is what it is. I can show you guys real fast because it's a little bit faster. So here we have Guy. .10 frames, so really active on frame 11. So 3 frames faster, pretty significant if you're trying to beat someone if they're on throwing out jabs at the same time, or you're blocking and then they're trying to footsie you at the same time. So, and his second jab is the same actually, 18 or 19 frames. Just for quick comparison, Guy has 230 life, quite a lot in comparison to So let's jump into training mode here. I use save states quite a bit to jump back and forth. So Eno has a very long string list. And at first it seems really overwhelming. But in reality, once you kind of understand where her strings changed, it's really not too complicated. A lot of them end up being a couple moves into the same animations. So a lot of them lead into this elbow, and then off the elbow you just have different teleport moves. But as you see in the air there, this last portion, those 3 kicks are the same as that portion, right? And a lot of the strings go into similar moves, but I wanted to go over every single one anyway. So here we have, I have every single one clipped out here, so we can go over the first ones, right? So B, 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 and we'll go over ring as well, all these, right? So 5 Bs is just this. That's actually 6 Bs, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So ring is the option at the end of a string where you have different enders for the string. Hokage has this system, Kidomaru has this system as well. These are some of the string enders right here, and we'll go over them at the end. But so string 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, that last B is the same as your jump B, same animation. So any string that has this jump B in the string is a ring point where you can change your options. But let's go to string 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the same as this one, right? But instead of going up, you do down B and it knocks them down. Not super useful in my opinion. Gray Alice did show me one interesting option with it. If you have someone set to tech roll, they will always tech into you because it's a knockdown. They get slammed to the ground. So if they tech, it's automatically towards you. So you could do something like, and that's her 5X, which is the one without the beam. It's a very good wake up super option. It has a very big hitbox that goes horizontally, like forward and upward. It's not very far, but it covers a really good area. So it's really hard to sidestep. They can't really jump out of it. It's really useful for those types of situations if you want to go for the win, right? So string 3, BBVA. So as you can see, string 3 and 4 are actually the same. It's just a different input of the A. So 1, 2, 3. That's neutral A, 5A will teleport behind them. And 4A, which is back A, right, will teleport on your side. So left side. Basically, you can think of it left side and right side. All of her teleports actually function that way. If you input left, she will teleport to the left. If you input right, or 5A in this case, you can do right, but it would actually, in my opinion, help when you're doing mix-ups in the air later on. It comes into play. But so you'll be on the right side or on the left side. All right, pretty simple. So that's the first 4. All right, string 5. So this is an interesting addition that they put this even in here because BB up B doesn't actually connect on a grounded opponent. Her up B is this move right here, but it's just a move that you can do in your strings, right? So BB, up B. So that's string 5 with the B ender of the ring. So if we want to just do the 3 Bs, it'll end with the same jump B animation. Up B actually has a hitbox, just doesn't hit people on the ground unless they're basically inside of you, like hugging you, but smaller characters like Naruto and the kids don't have big hurt boxes. Maybe Jiraiya or Kasama you can hit standing, but you almost never hit them standing. They'll have to be in the air for you to hit them with an up B, which will look something like this. Alright, so string 6. I think string 6 is actually a mistake. I'll have to talk to Cape about that because up B, down B doesn't actually do anything. I'll have to talk about that later. String 7 and 8 are actually identical to string 5. It's just the fact that you can do up B off a jab, one jab instead of two. What's interesting though is that Ino can do up B, 8B, whatever you want to call it, off one jab, but it doesn't have to hit. It can be empty. Which is a very, very strong tool. It can be done on hit as well. And obviously you can do it off 2 as well. And this can be done on guard, obviously. This is incredibly powerful for any type of offensive pressure you want to put on your opponent. If you knock them down and they're getting back up and you are expecting basically anything, like a 4B or even an invincible super, the first hit will be absorbed by their 4B, and then this will almost always win, sometimes clash, but either way it's going to get you out of the situation. Maybe you're fighting a Jiraiya who wakes up with Toad super. This will whiff because the Toad super has invulnerability frames, but you can still buffer in the 8B and just chill here, wait for the Toad, and then go in for a punish. What happens to a lot of people, though, I would say, at least even for me, is that you get in this like oppressive, aggressive mode where you're just hitting buttons constantly. That's quite punishable if you just do it raw, if your opponent's ready for you. So just be careful. Alright, next strings. String 9, very simple. BBA, quite good, depending on the situation. Can't do this empty, unfortunately, but that's her 6A. Very simple, very good. String 10, 11 are the same. The difference is where you teleport from. So if you do 6B, which is her little rising elbow, you can follow up with neutral B or back B. Again, this changes where you teleport from. All of her directional inputs affect where she comes from, right? So her neutral B, she'll come from behind Naruto here. That's string 10. And here's string 11. So this is really important when you're in a scenario where you can't teleport behind them, because she won't steal the corner. Right? So Naruto's back is to the wall here. If I just do string 10, it'll whiff. But if I do string 11, where I teleport from the left side, I can follow up very easily. String 12 is the same as 10, it's just a different ender, right? So, and that's actually the same as her one of her first strings, right? So, even though they're different strings, it's really the same thing. It's just different opener, same ender. String 13 is going to be the same as 12. It's just instead of teleporting from the back, we're going to teleport from the front. Right, so 6B, 4B, 2B. Same as this. Just depends on where you are on the stage, where you want to go, where you want to take your opponent, where you want to get the juggling. That's a little bit further advanced stuff, but it's really the same string, just different directions, right? String 14 is her back B. So her back B is a very fast slap. It doesn't have very active guard frames, but because it's so fast, you can interrupt many things. And since it's so fast, sometimes people have a hard time reacting with the tech. So I had the opponent, the CPU on tech, right? But if they don't tech, you can follow up with 2Bs. Whoops, I had the wrong setting. So that's string 14, right? String 15 is the same, just with A. Almost never use this. I guess maybe you could consider it safer because this follow-up could leave you at a disadvantage if they tech, whereas this is probably safer. Either way, you should be able to react to your opponent not tacking. And you can just follow up with the 2B if you want to be safer. Like that. But I would say try it out against your opponent, see how good they are at teching. Because this is pretty good damage, kind of for free. So that's string 14 and 15. And then we go into string 16, 2 BBB, which is her sweep. Her sweep goes into a little cartwheel, which the 2 first Bs can be done empty. And then on hit or on guard, the 3rd B comes out, which is just a second cartwheel. This is much better than it seems. It trips, right, so it'll break super armor. And it has decent range. She doesn't have the longest legs in the world. She's not like Kabuto or Hokage who have a very, very good 2B, but it's still good. And what's quite good about it, it can catch sidesteps pretty well. But what I really like about it is that the second B can be Y canceled, and then you can basically do any combo you want. I typically go for 6B, so sometimes I'll backdash, bait some kind of jab or something. It's a low, right? So it'll beat high. It's a high crush, right? So it'll beat highs. So you can go into something like that. Alright, string 17. Again, starts with 2B, but it goes into her 6A, which is, I really like that as well. Very strong. Good for tripping people up, closing out rounds, things like that. Not safe on block. This move is very bad on block, but it's very good for whiff punishing, because it reaches really far. If you have characters who can attack you from afar with empty moves, like a Hyuga, for example, Neji, Woke, whoever, they're doing 6BB, they're like forward palms. You can, if you see them even inch forward, you just throw this out. 8-frame moves, super fast, get some free damage in. People like to run in, it can catch side steps. Just have to get used to its utility and incorporate it into your gameplay. So that was string 17, right? This. String 18 is the same as 6, all of these actually, right? So it's just without the introduction, the first 2 Bs. It's just A, B, B, right? So it's not really a unique string, it's just... Alright, so 8 BBB is this, and after this jump kick is where you can do the ring. Again, I'll come back to this once we go through all the strings. So then this is 18, this is 19. String 20, running BB, very good move. As you can see, her running B is the same kick as this, which is the same, the second B off 8B. It's the, I guess actually, same B kick off the 6B teleport. What I'm trying to show is that it's the same move, it just comes in different parts, but it always follows up with that jump B animation. So really, you have all the same options once this comes out, right? The ring options after that are the same as the ring options here. It's just the fact that you get this off a running move, which is very strong and unique. Most running moves don't lead into full combos. It's pretty fantastic. So that's string 20. Alright, string 21. Running B, down B. It's going to be the same thing as we've already seen before. Alright. I don't use this as often. I'm almost ever actually, because you have more, you're safer when you do running BB. Because off this kickflip, you have all your ring options, which we haven't gone over yet. But for example, oh goodness, sorry. You can teleport out of. Teleport behind. Even if it's on block, you can do things, right? Whereas that just leaves you there. Whereas teleports, you have options. So I would almost never recommend this unless you somehow can react to that first B and get that down B. If you're going to use that move, I would use it in a string where you can much more easily hit confirm. So string 22, down AA. Now we're getting into our strings that open up with down A. They're almost all the same as her B strings, they just open up with this. So down AA, very simple to hit string. I can't follow up after it. Down AA is this. I cannot find a way to follow up after it, nor would I want to, because it adds 2 hits to the combo counter. If you're not aware, higher combo counter means higher gravity, so the opponent will float less, which means it's harder to keep them juggled. So unless certain moves have set, I guess, ground bounce or gravity to them, but this is just, I would almost never use it unless maybe on block to get them away from me. Yeah, not a bad spacing tool, because then you can approach that way. But not something I would use very often. However, down A into our B strings, you'll see, you should find them familiar already. So string 23, down A, B, B, B. Which is the same as this. It's just you start with this move. This is actually quite good. That's a pretty good horizontal and vertical hitbox, but you can see she moves forward a little bit, but you know, not the best in the world. However, it can be Y canceled, so you have options. I found that it's actually pretty strong on block. You can do 6B, they might block it. You can follow up with that. This even juggles. Alright. So anyway, string 23 again. And then string 24 is the same thing, just coming from the left side. String 25, more of the same strings, just starting with down A. Alright, that's string 25. String 26 is the same, just coming from the other side. Running AA. So running B, right? Running AA gives you 2 hits in front of the same strings. Sorry, actually it's not the same as running B. So we're basically going to go into this off a running move. So the main difference is the first running A, that, which is not that great, very easy to sidestep. But I don't know what to call this. High hit stun. You can just follow up if I time it right. There we go. So honestly, just mash it if you really wanted to. But if you can hit confirm off that, you may as well just do the string itself. So running AA, BBB. That's string 27. Again, it's the same as this. Just with running AA in the front. running string 28 is the same, just teleporting from that side, right? I hope you're seeing the pattern. All of her strings are basically the same with just slightly different variations. These last few are same, just with a different ender, right? Alright, and then the most unique one is, I guess most unique is running A, which if you see is just with that running A animation. So string 32 is airborne, right, jumping B. When this connects, you have two options, B and down B. So that's BB, right? This can hit, you can do jump B rising, it'll even hit the small characters, right? String 33, same thing. But you do down B instead, you get a dive kick, pretty neat. It's quite fast, so you can Y cancel and combo off of it. Okay, now we see all of her ring choices coming up here. So the first one is B, and then you have down B, A, 6A, and 4A, right? So let's go back to anything that says and into ring, right, is where you have these 5 options. The simplest one, I would go with string 10 here, 6BBB. Again, the ring point is when you see this jump B animation. However, you don't have ring off raw jump B. You only have 2 options. It would be pretty cool if they added a kunai option, but it'd probably be too oppressive. She's already so aggressive as it is, so maybe she doesn't need that. So, ring options, right? 6BBB. So after that kickflip, she can do all of her different options. So if I just do a 4th B, she kicks them across the screen, which is the same as this. Right. Let's do down B, which is her dive kick. Also available in the ring. A, 5A will throw kunai. And then 4A and 6A are the teleports. And you can think of it this way. 6 and 4 are directional inputs, right? When you're facing the right. You can also just think of it as towards or back or right and left in this situation, right? Because she will teleport the direction that you're holding, no matter where your opponent is. But the way you face will change. Right, so that was 4A ender, right? I teleported to the left, and I'm facing the right. But now if I teleport behind him with 6A, I'm still facing him, but I'm on the right side now. Now this is on hit, by the way. I'm facing him every time. After she teleports, she has very low recovery, so she can actually do things in the air. If you're hitting them, you can grab them. She has an air throw, right? She can do this on either side. She basically pretend that you're in the air. Like if you jump, you have all your options, right? So when she's teleporting, you can even jump again. You can do whatever you want. Even jump B, right? Which leads into some fun stuff. So that was a combination of this, right? And this combo and the ring teleport, right? Guess I didn't go over her normals, right? So BB, kunai, down A, 6A, up A. Back A is a counter, pretty standard. Back B, right? Forward B is that. Up B is her foot. So those are her ring options, right? And she can do that off any string that ends with this. All right, so you can do it here. Do it with this. Now, her ring is different when it's on block, right? So where she lands, the way she's facing, right? So on hit, she'll always face the opponent, no matter what side she teleports on. See, she's facing him. But if he's on block, and I teleport, so if I do this, I'm gonna hit him from behind, right? So I'm gonna stay in front of him, and I teleported to the left. So back A, I did back A, so left. I'm on the left side of the screen. If I do 6A ender, I'm going to end up behind him, but I'm going to be facing this way as well. So this is an interesting situation. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse, right? You have to turn around to do anything, but you're behind them. So you could do, there's a lot of mix-up potential here, right? But a lot of people have seen this. Right, very strong. She is minus, she's at disadvantage, but she has a lot of options, so it's difficult to punish her if you're not reacting to the teleport. But if she teleports behind them, they can't jab you, they have to turn around, which you also have to turn around, but it's an interesting situation, interesting mix-up. Now, with smaller characters like Naruto, one of Ino's strengths is fighting an opponent who is short, because she can flip over them with 8B, right? So that's pretty great. Because they may instinctively turn around, but if they turn around here and you 8B, their back will be facing you, and then you can punish, right? So what's an interesting mix, if your opponent is not familiar with the matchup or is just giving you the freedom of pressuring them, then don't stop. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way fighting games work, right? If you don't give your opponent a reason to stop doing what they're doing, they can continue doing it. And maybe they won't because of personal choice, but in terms of advantage, right? So you could do... Sorry. You could just loop this over and over again. Just depends on what they're gonna do, right? So just looping this pressure. So you can do that same teleport string, right? Because off of this it goes into that same, like just 8B, 8BB goes into that rising uppercut kick. It's the same kick as this second kick, right? This second B off 6B, right? Is the same as the second B off this. Which means you have the same options every time. So, there's strings covered. What are some, I guess, bread and butters, right? Thing about her is that I mean, you could definitely consider having bread and butters with her, but once you kind of understand her options, I think she's pretty unique in the sense that you don't have to really stick to one set of combos. You can kind of do whatever you want once you get the opponent in the air. But pretty standard stuff. right? It's B string, and then BB down X. It'll hit anywhere. It's very good. She has 3 supers, by the way, right? 5X. Oh, sorry. That was 5X, which is just Asuma coming out for a big punch. Decent damage. As you can tell, there is no beam here. 2X. You can see the little beam coming out of her. It actually has pretty long range. 2X does more damage, right? Quite a bit more. And then she has a 4X, which is considered an uppercut. She has upper body invulnerability. I don't remember the frame data, but basically it will beat highs and mids, but it loses to lows. So if someone does a sweep or a wake-up kick, it'll lose. But this can be done mid-string, kind of like a get-off-me move, or when you're getting up, right? It does lose sometimes to supers. You just have to time it because the active frames aren't as good at times. So you just have to get used to that in your gameplay. Only costs 75 to meter. So bread and butters. As you can tell here, as I showed, the very first string is string 1, right? It's only 5 Bs and it says into ring, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th hit is, again, this, that launcher across the screen. So that you can do anything, right? Because you have ring options. So just kind of depends on where you are on the screen. So pretty standard combos will be just BB all the way through, carry your opponent across the screen. But if you're mid-screen, you can do some stuff with 6B, right? But on a stage this big, you don't really want to send them flying away, right? So she has some fun ways to keep them in front, on her, I guess, in front of her. Or can also just do that. She's pretty strong on both big stages and long and short stages, or small stages, but big stages she can sometimes have a hard time keeping her opponent juggle. If she sends them too far away, like here, I can't get there in time. So it's better to keep them on top of you. Another, like, one of her, I would say, best moves here is jump B. This has a very good hitbox. It's also puts them in a juggle. It launches them into the air and you can juggle. So you can just, you can do whatever you want here. It also crosses up. So I can hit from behind. And continue my combo. You can also do it backwards, right? So I'm here, it's behind. So some more of the fun stuff with her comes in a smaller stage. I forgot to show her throws too, actually. So she has 2 throws, 5Y. Keeps them on the ground in front of you. 2Y. She switches sides with them and will be back turned. But you have time to turn around and combo them. It's pretty unique, very good for her because she can continue her combos on the ground very well and then put them into the air and continue juggling. Right now I can't think of any other characters that have a grounded throw like this. There are unique throws like the slams from the swordsman and stuff like that. Jiraiya has a new throw, things like that. But you can use either throw it doesn't really matter. I want to say they do the same damage. I could look it up in debug, but they're about the same. But one advantage you get with 2Y is that you can take them out of the corner if you want to. And then you can always put them back in the corner too. So I just realized I didn't put the inputs on. I'll turn those on right now. So that was pretty good damage. It was 220 damage, right? But that probably would give too much meter. Real quick, let's do this. Okay, let's see what that damage, or how much meter that built. Yeah, so you can see it kills him, but it would make too much meter for him. He could KNJ out. But you may start seeing her advantage on these small stages. She can continue juggling people really well. But this is an example of where 6BB, you want to be aware of where you come from and put the right input in. So if I'm over here, you can tell that there's not much space on this right side of the screen. So I won't hit if I just do the regular string. If I do that, it hits, right? So that's 6B, 4B versus 6BB. So there's going to be those scenarios where you have to be aware of where you are on the stage and hitting them. So at that point, I'd say you can kind of just be creative with what you want to do. Something that a lot of people may not be familiar with that I kind of mentioned earlier, right? She's free to act after her teleport in the air, but that also means you can do falling jump Bs and continue your combo on the ground. Alright, so that's... So you may find yourself in a situation where like this last hit of the string of this like horizontal kick whiffs because they're already too low, but you can teleport down and hit them one more time. But there's just so much creativity in some of the options you have here. I mean, like I said, you can do a rising jump B, right? And then just do it again. But, you know, that didn't hit, so. So you can see that sometimes 2x won't hit. It's too slow. But 5x hits. It's faster. And I mean, that might not be optimal, but it's just some fun you can have. Let's go back to that bigger stage. So 6B, You can just do empty. You can do it again. It's another point where you'd have to teleport from the left side to hit. Which you can also do. And then her running B is pretty deceiving, how low it hits. You can really pick someone up from across the screen as you just saw, so she has a lot of options. I think that's about all I would have to say right now. This was again really free form and just kind of wanted to talk about some things. You really can just do just about anything you want. If you just want to do B, 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 you can do that. I wouldn't recommend following up with it after you get the string. As you can tell, it's not like completely brain dead. What I would do, if you want to do that, you can 6B. But you see there how the last hit whiffs? So what I can do instead is teleport down. It's not amazing damage, but you know, it's something. It's pretty good, I guess, actually, with the super. But that was an example of where the teleport down with the jump B is better than just ending the combo, because that sideways launch and kick whiffed. Show it again. See, the last hit whiffs. Another, I mean, you can honestly just loop this. Alright, that last hit is whiff on the third rotation, third loop that is. So I'll teleport down this time. Oh, looks like that's not even fast enough. So, you know, this is something you can play around with. Yeah, that doesn't hit. It doesn't seem to, but maybe you can do 8B for the third loop. Yeah, there we go. Interesting. Wow, doesn't hit. Doesn't activate at least. If you really want to end it with super, you could do this. Oh. Put in the wrong blue there, so it teleported to the wrong side. This is an example of where I'm always doing 4B after the 6B, so I teleport from the left side. Ah, I did get it, nice. So you can see if you do combos a little bit faster or a little higher up, they'll stay in the air higher, you can keep them juggled. She has tons of options. I like to end things with throw very often, air throw. I'll just do like a simple. You can also, if they don't tech, it's pretty good damage. Now, there's an interesting mechanic with how this game treats throws. If you throw someone, it's easier on a big stage to show this. Whoops. So I'm teleporting behind him. I'm over here behind his back. If I hit throw, he's gonna bounce towards me. But if I teleport in front of him and I throw him, he'll bounce away from me. This can be used on smaller stages. pick someone up if they'd missed their tech. But I wouldn't count on it. Most people don't miss air techs off throws, and then you also have to be closer to them. But if you do get that restand, it's pretty cool. And more damage, right? As you can tell, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Sometimes it whiffs. Another thing to point out, she can't steal the corner when she teleports. So normally that would go behind him, right? That one always goes to the left, but I can't steal the corner if his back is to the wall, so see how I kind of like hop into him? There's also a difference in the way the jump B acts. I don't fall down, I'm like rising up. Whereas if I do this, teleport back, I'm falling down. So this was 6A. I'm gonna teleport. I can't steal the corner, and then I'm teleporting, I'm jumping up, I'm whiffing. 4A, teleporting down. Can follow up. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to say right now about her. Learn her strings and her options for ring. Try not to mash. When I first played her, when I first picked her up, I was just mashing, and I couldn't get the ring options to come out consistently. But once you get used to the muscle memory and how many buttons you have to press to get to this jump B, it becomes quite easy. So, I mean, you can just make stuff up once you understand what you can do. All of her ring can be done on guard. All of her teleports can be done on guard. Remember, 8B can be done off 1B or even 2, and it can be done off 1 empty. Oh, another, I would say, maybe strategy with her, my personal opinion. She almost never really needs meter to do any combos. So maybe if you're hit confirming this, oops, that's not what I wanted. You're hit confirming BB, and you don't want to go into the full like standing B combo. You're over here, and you want to do this instead. You're gonna get your meter back right away, but she really doesn't need meter for combos. The only other time I actually actively use it is like this, and if I want to be fancy and do something like this. Actually, something unique right there that I want to point out is that if you saw, my jump B didn't hit, but it came out in the string, which still allows me to do the ring. Oh, see, that time it actually did hit. But basically what I'm saying is that you may come into a situation where you're running B hits, and then you're able to do the jump B after, which allows you to do ring, but that jump B didn't hit. Like that. Which is a pretty interesting situation. But yeah, meter, she doesn't really need it for combos. This is a very good usage of it right there. And if you want to be stylish or, you know, whatever. It's your game. Play how you like. So I always use her meter for supers and K and J all the time because I'm always going to build my meter again. So let's say I get a throw. Okay. So, I mean, that was just nothing, and she already has her meter back, right? I mean, that's crazy. So that's very good. So that's why I never worry about it. Now, you may play differently than me, and you may be nervous when you don't have meters, so that's kind of on your own playstyle. But if you up your defensive game, maybe poke a little bit, and start getting your meter in, maybe you approach with a run B and they don't sidestep it, right? Then you're in a spot where you can start the pressure and open them up. This is such a good mix-up. If your opponent does not defend against it, I would just say always do it. It's frustrating, but if they're not beating you, if they're not trying to get out, then why give them any advantage? You can do the same thing behind them. Takes a little bit longer because you have to turn around. But it's a mix-up, right? Which side are you going to land on? Or... lots of options. Lots and lots of options. So I think that's it. This was really free-form. I'll give it to some people, see what they think. Maybe I'll re-record it and re-edit it, and maybe do some like actual more like basic, advanced, expert combos or something. You know, I think is not a very simple character, but once you learn her, she's a lot of fun. She's very strong. She does get countered by 10-10 really hard. She has a hard time getting in on people that can keep her out. So say Kankuro and Haku are really good matches against her. Like it's difficult for her. Itachi can be pretty tricky, even though he got nerfed. But she's a very strong character and a lot of fun to play. Very freeform. People can play her defensively, offensively. I'd say overall she's an offensive character. But if you just want to turtle with jump B and chill out, and then poke with this, punish long range, and then you want to go in, whatever your game plan is, whatever your style is, you can fit. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you. Hope this is helpful. I know it's kind of long, but I would say 1 hour to look over some stuff to help you get better is worth it. But again, I might redo this. So thanks everybody. Have a good night.